3D Cinderella acrylic nail art tutorial by Hotpinkzebrapolish.
Hi everyone! In today's video I'm going to be working on my 3D Cinderella nail art design, which has this ring that goes over the top of it that curlicues around it so it looks like she's changing in from her rags into her beautiful ball gown. So I hope you like this design, and don't forget to click subscribe to see my future videos as well.
To begin, I'm going to create a dark blue glittery overlay on my nail tip, and so I'm going to set the bead near the cuticle and then brush it down. And I want to keep this relatively thin because there is going to be so much 3D art on top of it. The whole nail might get a little too thick, especially if you started out with a really thick overlay, so try to keep it all thin. And then I'm going to encase the blue with a layer of clear once again, keeping this nice and thin so that the whole nail doesn't get super heavy. And then I'm going to be filing it with a 180 grit file to smooth out any ridges and thin it out. And then buff that with a 240 grit padded buffer just to remove any scratches and make it easier to make your 3D art. So to begin my 3D, I'm going to start at the top with her face. And so I'm going to first create what I think of as a strawberry shape for her face, and then make her neck and her chest. And I'm using white in the beginning because the cover color that I'm going to use as her skin tone is semi-transparent, and so the blue will show through it if I do that directly on top of it. But if I add a layer of white between, it's going to create sort of a base or a background so that the cover color shows up the color that I want it to. So now I'm using a cover pink that's sort of a beige tone, and I'm going to add another layer over the top of all that white I just added. So anywhere where her skin is showing, I did white originally and then covered it with cover. Covered it with cover, haha. Yeah, so there we have it. And I'm going to add a second layer over her face just to thicken it and make it more dimensional. With yellow, I'm going to be working on her hair, and her head is turned to the side, and so you get a profile version of how her hair is. So I'm going to add her bangs sort of on the top of her face, and then I'm going to thicken her bangs up just so once again they're a little more dimensional, and add her bun. And now I'm going to start adding her dress. And as I was doing her dress, I did it in several small beads instead of trying to accomplish it in one larger one. This gives you more time to make sure that you get all the shapes right and all the shapes proportional. And also it just makes it a little bit easier so you're not as stressed making sure that you get everything done before your acrylic sets. And then I'm going to switch to my larger brush, and I'm going to be making the big skirt of her dress and fill in the tip with that light blue. And then I'm going to add the puffs of her sleeves. And when you're doing that, make sure that your bead of acrylic is a little bit stiffer so that they don't run all over and they hold that nice shape as well. And then with, again, really small beads of acrylic, I'm going to be adding her gloves. And because your nail is thin, thankfully you don't have to sculpt her hands because, well, those are very small and it would be extremely difficult. So I made it so her arms were out to the sides a little bit so that her hands were off the side of the nail and you couldn't see them. And I would recommend doing that because if you have to sculpt her hands, that's really very small, and that would probably not be the easiest task. So sculpt her gloved arms off to the sides. And then I'm going to add, I couldn't decide what to call these, so I ended up calling them bustle. The two poofier sections right around her waist on her skirt. So add those now. And again, using thicker or stiffer acrylic, so less monomer, and just so that they hold their shape and they don't run. And if you want to add glitter, now's the time. If you don't want to add glitter, just ignore these next couple steps. So I'm going to brush some teal glitter over the bottom of her skirt, and then add silver glitter over the bustle and over the puffs on her sleeves. But like I said, if you don't want glitter, just omit adding it. And then with blue paint, I'm going to go through and add some details to her skirt. So I'm going to outline those two bustle and then add a couple stripes down her skirt. A line on the bodice, and also outlining all of those different shapes that we made just to make sure that they stand out nice and bright. And then her headband. And now switching to black paint, I'm going to define a couple of the details I didn't think that didn't show up enough with just the blue. So I'm going to add those stripes on her dress, and then also a black necklace. And then I'm going to apply a gel sealer over the background, so all over that dark glittery blue. And cure it. And then I'm going to be applying matte top coat over Cinderella herself, making sure I cover all of that glitter. I wanted it to be a matte glitter, but still glittery. So now finding a ring that fits just above your cuticle on the nail where over the nail. Find a ring that fits there, and then find something that the ring fits on that's around the right size, and wrap some wire around it, and then fit the wire around the nail. Bend it around just a little bit to create a ring. And then on that, the joint of the wire where the ring is attached or is made, I'm going to be applying or attaching 3 rhinestones right over that to cover it up and also make it look nice and glitzy. So I'm attaching those with some acrylic. And you have to hold them until they're attached, otherwise as soon as you let go they're just gonna fall off. So attach one to the center and then add the ones to either side of it. And then, because I made the nail on a separate thing, I had to put the nail on my nail. And then put something beneath it. So I used 2 stir sticks and then wrap the end of the wire around it. The stir sticks act as a spacer so that the wire isn't super snug on the nail. And then cut off the wire and attach another rhinestone to the very end to finish it off. And then you're all set. So I hope you like this design, and please share any recreations with me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I would love to see them, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!